The Center for Biological Diversity was created in 1989 to save endangered species in the wild places where they live. We started small, focusing primarily on regional issues, but since then we've grown to be the nation's most important and productive endangered species group. We're actively engaged in saving animals and plants from habitat loss, global warming, pollution, human overpopulation, and other human-caused factors that contribute to their extinction. Unlike other groups, our mission is not to save only big, charismatic species like the polar bear, but to fight for butterflies, freshwater fish, and orchids too, as well as the ecosystems they need to survive and thrive. We take a smart, active approach operating in the arenas of law, science, politics, and public organizing. With successes in 93% of our court cases, we're unparalleled in the environmental movement. At our core, the Center's mission is to save all species, great and small, that are hovering on the brink of extinction, with a focus on protecting the lands, waters, and climate that they need to survive. To accomplish this, we use our nation's bedrock environmental laws, such as the Endangered Species Act and Clean Air Act, to secure protections for vulnerable populations of plants and animals and directly address the threats they face. We believe that the welfare of human beings is deeply linked to nature, to the existence in our world of a vast diversity of wild animals and plants. Because diversity has intrinsic value and because its loss harms society, we work to secure a future for all species. We want those who come after us to inherit a world where the wild is still alive. We're currently working to expand on our existing successes. We've won Endangered Species Act protection for more than 500 imperiled species and 220 million acres of protected habitat for those species. The Center's decades of success come from our unique ability to work in legal, scientific, political, media, and grassroots arenas to achieve our goals. At any given moment, we're utilizing all of these tools to win the pressing issues our planet faces every day, like climate change, clean water, and wildland protection. We're also working to expand the public's overall knowledge and investment in protection for species and the places they live. We win these fights because our staff is made up of smart, passionate people, and we use our funds effectively and efficiently. The secret to the Center's success is putting so many capable people to work for relatively little money. Dollar for dollar, we put double the number of people on the ground doing conservation work compared to similar organizations. We have a matchless brand of environmental advocacy and conservation that's pushed forward by our talented staff of lawyers, scientists, and activists. We're the hardest working group in the environmental movement. Our communications work is top-notch. We have become the go-to group for reporters across the country, and annually we send out 400 unique press releases educating the public and highlighting the critical work the Center does. We also have a steadily increasing list of hundreds of thousands Center supporters and members that we mobilize to speak out on issues, contact their elected representatives, attend meetings, write letters to the editor, and participate in public protests. In an average year, Center supporters send more than 1 million messages to decision makers. We use all of these forces in concert to create a nimble, flexible, powerful, and fast-moving group that produces important results. The most important metric of the Center's success is real, on-the-ground protection for imperiled plants and animals that also results in benefits for people, from wild natural places to enjoy, to clean air and water and a healthier climate. We also measure success by our work in the courts securing federal and state protection for species and lands. 93% of our cases have a favorable outcome. We also mobilize our growing group of members and activists to take action for imperiled species and wild lands. The Center was started by our 4 founders in New Mexico's Gila Wilderness while surveying for Mexican spotted owls for the U.S. Forest Service. Since then, we've grown to fight for species protections in as far away as Japan, Puerto Rico, Mexico, and the South Pole, though the vast majority of our work is here in the U.S. Many people are surprised to learn that about us. From the beginning, we've been funded solely by the generosity and commitment of individual donors and private foundations. We don't receive any money from the government. We also employ a uniquely talented team of expert lawyers, conservation advocates, and wildlife biologists, as well as maintain a network of pro bono lawyers and on-the-ground volunteers to assist in our mission work. The center also works for the public health, which isn't commonly known. By addressing the threats that put imperiled species on the brink of extinction, we protect all species on the planet, including ourselves. We work to ensure that the next generations will also have clean air and water, diverse ecosystems, healthier communities, and wild, natural areas to enjoy. The Center has secured Endangered Species Act protection for more than 500 species, both domestically and internationally. And we've protected more than 220 million acres of habitat that's critical to the survival of at-risk plants and animals. In recent years, we won protection for the polar bear and 120 million acres of its habitat, an area larger than the state of California. In the summer of 2011, we secured a landmark agreement with the Obama administration to move more than 750 species in all 50 states towards federal protection. We've repeatedly halted offshore oil drilling in the Arctic and brought precedent-setting legal cases to address climate change, protect species, and curb destructive actions on federally owned land. We've won protection for big species, like wolves and polar bears, and small ones too, including the rapidly declining Miami blue butterfly. One of the most challenging aspects of the Center's work is educating decision makers about the urgency of the species extinction crisis, which is unfolding rapidly around the world. We work to educate, inform, inspire, and activate them about the need for immediate action. Still, government agencies are often slow to make decisions, and politicians often meddle with the process of protecting species. These practices take away the power from scientists who have the best understanding about what's needed to recover the species. It takes a lot of time and financial resources to withstand the grindingly slow process and ensure that animals and plants earn the life-saving protection they need. One of the other challenges we face is simply the sheer size and complexity of the extinction crisis. Every day, dozens of wildlife and plant species vanish from the Earth, the latest victims in what scientists call the world's mass extinction crisis. It's often a Herculean effort to keep so many species moving toward protection while also navigating the political, legal, and regulatory arenas. With species unable to advocate for themselves, it's up to us to hold the line, and the Center is the best group to meet this challenge. What's most needed at this point is an expansion of our highly effective legal, scientific, political, communications, and grassroots organizing operations. With additional funds, we'd also hire more staff, fight for more imperiled animals and plants, and win more real, on-the-ground, life-saving protection. Simply put, we'd do more if we had additional resources by expanding our current areas of expertise and bringing them to bear in new geographic, legal, and advocacy arenas in the United States. The Center is focused on expanding our grassroots organizing work by moving supporters from online petition signing into the real world. We'd create ways for activists to meet with their elected officials, educate their communities about the extinction crisis, and compel strong, immediate action by our government and wildlife agencies to protect imperiled species. There's also a gap in the public discourse about the effectiveness of the Endangered Species Act, even though it has a strong, demonstrated record of success. We seek to fill this hole by educating and publicizing the facts of the Act's success. Finally, as mentioned earlier, there are key areas in the United States where at-risk species in wildlands simply aren't getting the help they badly need. More action is required to study, document, and petition for species protections.